The rolling hills of the Aberdare Mountains in Kenya are a home from home for many British settlers. They become known as the White Highlands. But they are also the home of the Kikuyu tribe. Gushu Gikoyo is a Kikuyu farmer.
I often ask myself why the British send their children all the way from home to a land that is not theirs. I have come to the conclusion that the white man is a thief by nature.
Cherry Lander, a widow who runs her own farm on the foothills of Mount Elgon, is a coffee pioneer.
There would never have been any Kenya if there hadn't been settlers tough enough to endure the first awful years. They have given Kenya their youth, knowing that they could make nothing of it in their short lifespan, but they were building a future for their children and their children's children.
Gushu Gikoyo becomes a follower of Jomo Kenyatta, the leader of the Kenya African Union, who is campaigning for independence.
At a meeting in Theka, Kenyatta asked us whether we want to fight for our land. We replied, yes. Are you waiting then until the white man has bred into this country like rabbits? No, we replied. We want to fight now. Then realize that the tree of freedom is red, not with water, but with blood.
Kenyatta becomes the figurehead for Kenya's nationalism, but behind him, a much more radical movement emerges. Mau Mau. (1951). The King's African Rifles patrol the thick forests of the White Highlands as Kikuyu resentment of the occupation of their land escalates into armed rebellion. The rebels express their loyalty to the cause through a blood ritual, the Mau Mau Oath. Gruesome stories about the oath-taking ceremony are so potent that British filmmakers recreate them as propaganda. But Mau Mau sympathizer, Josiah Karaoke, recalls the fearsome words of his owner.
I will obey all orders of the Mau Mau, or this oath will kill me. If I'm cold in the night and I refuse to come, this oath will kill me. If I'm told to bring in the head of a white man and I refuse, this oath will kill me.
Over 100,000 Kikuyu take the Mau Mau Oath. Sir Michael Blundell, the leader of Kenya's white settlers.
October the 20th, 1952. The governor asked to see me in his room at Government House. There he told me that a declaration of emergency had been made and that a battalion of the army would be arriving in Kenya by air. He outlined the arrangements for the arrest and detention of 187 of the ringleaders of Mau Mau, including Kenyatta.
In December, Kenyatta is put on trial. By now, Mau Mau has begun to attack and kill white settlers. After 4 months in court, the presiding judge, Ransley Thacker, himself a white settler, delivers a damning 7-hour judgment.
You have plunged many Africans back to a state which shows little humanity. Your Mau Mau society has slaughtered without mercy defenseless men, women, and children. You have much to answer for, and for that, you will be punished.
Kenyatta is sentenced to 7 years hard labor. Thacker flies to Britain immediately after the trial, having been given £20,000 by the government to facilitate his permanent relocation in England. March 1953. The worst atrocity of the Mau Mau uprising takes place at Lari, a protected settlement of Kikuyu loyal to the British. 97 people are burned or hanged to death. The government report of the massacre.
The sleeping Kikuyu people awoke to find flames roaring above them as the Mau Mau fired the tinder-dry thatched roofs. Men, women and children, forcing their way out of the windows, were caught and butchered. Mangled corpses all mingled with the smoking ashes of the burnt homesteads.
White farmers and their families continue to be attacked under the cover of darkness on their isolated farms. The wife of a farmer, Marjorie Poe.
The country has been darkened by a murderous hate. It is hard to believe that as the sun goes down, gangs in the forest are preparing to set out, not only to murder Europeans, but to burn alive and hack to death their own neighbors and their wives and children.
The Europeans formed vigilante groups. Their avowed policy, shoot on sight. Kikuyus are required to live in protected villages, watched over by the loyal Kikuyu Guard, leaving the Mau Mau isolated in the forests. The British Army is deployed into the forests. The Royal Air Force into the skies above them. The Commander-in-Chief, British forces in the Kenya colony, General Sir George Erskine.
16th of October, 1953. We have reached a turning point, which is decisive for good or evil. There have been no spectacular battles, but you cannot expect that in the thick jungle. The military operations have met with success.
Martial law is strictly enforced. At the height of the rebellion, over 80,000 Kikuyu are held in detention camps. A detainee, Josiah Karaoke.
Solitary confinement was one of the worst experiences of my life.